Alright, in this video we're going to show you how to begin to make your test bar. This is our test bar we're going to be making here. It's just got 7 different steps, 7 inches long. The largest step is 1 1/8. Our largest diameter on here is 1 1/4, so we'll have to turn it down. But remember, the first steps of any operation after you get the part in the chuck centered with no more than 2 times the diameter sticking out. I know some books will say 3 or 4 or 5, but my policy is if it's 1 1/4 diameter, no more than 2 1/2 sticking out. It just makes the part that much more rigid. It keeps everything on center, keeps everything happy. So I already went ahead and centered this when it's centered with the regular dial indicator within half thousandths easy. So we're okay with that. And when I did center it, I made sure to put the adjuster toward me so that I can adjust it to 0. I can, as I proceed to center it, I can move it around like that. So it's much easier if you have the self-adjuster facing toward you. Okay, so we're done with that. We went into a little bit more detail in another previous video about that, but make sure whenever you clamp anything to the ways or the bearing surfaces on the lathe, use a little piece of paper. That way we're not going to tear these ways and bearing surfaces up here. We want to keep those in good shape. So now our part is secure, about 2 inches sticking out, something like that. So next thing we want to do is put our tool on. And we do want to take this tool out because we're going to use high-speed bits for this job. So this is the carbide tool that needs to come out. And we'll put the high-speed bit that we just sharpened back in.
And let me find that high-speed bit.
That looks like that must be it right there. So let's tighten down on this and try not to stick too much of the tool bit out. That's kind of a bad thing too. So we don't want that. We've got 2 screws holding. Make sure when you do this that you don't catch on the side of the tool. You can easily get hurt like that. So let me spin that around and show you what I've got. There's what we have as far as the tool goes. Sticking out about 2 times, maybe 2 1/2 times the diameter. And always put the flat part of the tool post to the front. That way you're always going to clear the tailstock ram, the center. That way you're not going to run into anything at all, okay? So before we get started, we want to make sure our tool has the proper height. So we're going to lock her down right here. And we're going to take it in a little bit. And you see that we're really, really, really low. So we're going to sit this right about there. And you've got to make sure you get down to eye level. Look to make sure the tip of your tool is center of that point that's on the lab center. Okay, so now as I face, we have the compound rest setting at 60 degrees because 90 is straight ahead. We set it for 30 whenever we thread, so I usually leave it at 30. So we're just going to set our tool just about in line with the compound rest like this. Okay, so let's tighten this down. Just about like that. Now we're ready to bring it up and we're ready to face it and make a light cut. Now there are some people that will center drill first and then face, but I like to face first and then center drill. So we always pull our shield down for safety. We calculate our RPM, 3.82 times 90, divided by the 1 1/4 diameter. We get about 253. It would be actually a little bit more than that. And I also want to set the controls to cross feed. So by pulling out this knob here, I'm going to be able to cross feed. And we may want to speed this up just a pinch. There we go. So all we're doing is going across the front of the part to make that nice flat surface that we're going to work with. Now when we get done, you can see that we don't have a tit or anything sticking out there. Okay, there's nothing sticking out there. If it's a square-like nub sticking out, that means we're too low. If it's shaped like a cone, that means we're too high. Okay, so we've got it faced. Now let's go ahead and center drill it. When we center drill it, we do want to pull everything back out of the way, especially so you can see how we do this. And we're going to stick our center drill, our Jacob's chuck, with the center drill in. Typical Jacob's chuck, we put the center drill in until it's at the end of the flutes, just like this. That's how far it goes in. We want to pull the ram out just slightly because there's a knockout rod in the back of it. So I put it in and I just pop it in like that. All right. Now we're going to change our RPM because the RPM now is not based upon the part, it's based upon the drill. Okay, so the tip of this is an 1/8 inch, and if we calculated that, it would be about 2,700. We're not going to run it that fast. It's a little bit too fast for this machine, cast iron chuck, manual lathe. So we're going to run it, maybe 885. After we change the gears back. Okay. So now as we take it in, let me make sure that you can see okay. Alright. Now we don't want to push too hard, we're just going to lightly take it in, because if I push really, really hard, I'll break the tip off. And if I break the tip off in my part, I can't drill it out because it's as hard as a drill. Now how far do I go in the paper? I go 2/3 up the chamfer. That's about it. Okay. How far in do we go with the center drill? If this is the center drill, we're going to go 2/3 up this chamfer right here from a thumbnail to the top. 2/3 is what we want. So now I'm going to put my center back in. I like this little center, it works really well. But now I need to pull the part out, about 4.5 inches, because as we talked earlier, we have 1, 2, 3, let me show you this. We're going to work on this in here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 inches, but we want to go a little bit further. We're going to chuck up on it right here, and we're going to overshoot this in just by a little bit. Okay, so we're going to be just shooting it by about 4.5 inches, so I could go a little bit further than that if I wanted. So that means that we're going to have to take it out of the chuck and pull it out. So get used to working with a 4-jaw. We want to be able to pull it out, and also we don't want to have our part stuck in the jaws. It needs to be at least half the jaw or further back. That means we don't want to chuck up on anything right here. We will spring the jaws and wear the chuck out really fast. So we need to have our part at least halfway back in the jaws or further. So we're going to go about right here, which is that's about a little over 5 inches sticking out. So that would be fine. 5 inches sticking out is absolutely great. And I'm going to put my little piece of paper down here. Put my indicator down here. Whoops, wrong indicator. Grab the other one. Don't want to use a test indicator right now, not for this. So we get this right about here. And we'll tighten this back up. And don't think because you just loosen those two that you only have to tighten up those two, because it doesn't work like that. And if you have it in a high gear, it does rotate easier. So as I said before, by having this adjuster on my side, I can adjust this machine to the absolute. I'm going to work on 2 jaws at a time, remember. So 2 jaws at a time. I'm going to work on this jaw, which is number 2 and number 4. and they're not too far off. So this one's actually the lowest. So we'll take it over to this one, and that means I'm going to tighten it half of what I see. I see 3, so I'm going to tighten it about 1.5. So now I'm going to work on these 2 jaws. There's high, there's low. So I'm going to spin it around to the high point right here. I'm going to squeeze that one in. Oh, about 3 thousandths. If I can. And whenever we get it within a few thousandths, we just start tweaking it a little bit. So right about there's our low point. Right about there's our high point. So I just want to squeeze this one here in just a little bit. Okay, so we want to make sure we get it squeezed in just a little bit. Off about 1.5. Right here, just a hair on this one, and a hair on this one. And we should be pretty good right there. We're about 0.5 thousandths. Let me put it back to 0 where we should be. Let's see, right about there. Let's give it just a little bit more of a snug. One more snug and we've got it. So we're going to leave it right there with easily within 0.5 thousandths there. Okay. Now the part's sticking way out there. We wouldn't want to machine on this or face it because the work is going to try to get away as we bring our tool into it. So remember our tool. This is the way the tool's set up. It's in here, and the tool doesn't have to be straight. It can be slanted at an angle, whatever you need to do to get away from this ram. Because I'll show you when we get over here. So we're done facing for now, so now we're just going to be turning. Okay? So right now, I'm ready to start turning on this part. We have about 5.25 inches sticking out. We're set up with the tool straight, and we have a center in it. So that's everything for this video. I have to keep the videos a little bit short. If you need to get a hold of me, if you have questions, just send me an email or a text, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And as always, thank you for watching.